Enjoy this episode of our 4 Qs for You series brought to you by Muzzy Property Group. Welcome to another episode of 4 Qs for You. Today my guest is Britney Richey. She is our Hays County Treasurer. Britney, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. My name is Britney Richey. I'm the Hays County Treasurer. I've been in the Hays County Treasurer's office for the past 32 years. My last time I ran unopposed. This time I'm running, I actually have an opponent in the general election, but I have a lot of experience with Hays County.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to go ahead and go right into the questions. Treasurer's office, there's a lot of misconceptions, so I want to get some good information from you for our audience. So question number 1, can you tell us what the duties are of the Treasurer's office?
Sure. So a Hays County Treasurer's office, what we do by statute, the law says that I'm the custodian of county funds, which is kind of a broad spectrum there. So let me kind of break that down as to what that means. So anytime somebody goes into the tax office to make a tax payment, let's say, or maybe they go into a courtroom for something and they have to pay court fees, all of the money that you would pay for Hays County comes to me eventually. So each department will deposit the funds through my office. They bring it down to us in the Treasurer's office and we make that deposit. Then at that point, what I do is invest the funds for the county. So I have to follow the local government investment policies, the Public Funds Investment Act, and follow what they tell me to do. But basically, I have a certification for that, and I invest the county funds how I feel are appropriate, which is fairly complicated because sometimes we need money really quickly, sometimes we don't, and having that idea and that flow and that experience to understand when the county needs money, it's available, and when they don't need money, I'm making the most I can for it. Then at that point, once we're invested and doing well, then we have to move money into our bank accounts at our depository. It's very important that our depository do what's called collateral. We're a government entity, so banks have to put up collateral for our money. They don't get to loan it out to other people. They have to supply securities to protect government funds. So I also have to monitor how much money we have in a local bank and make sure that we're collateralized. Then we disperse the funds. So we're in charge of the county payroll. We process all of the paychecks. We have 1,100 county employees that we pay twice a month. All of the payroll changes that come through for insurance or retirement or new hires or anything like that, we process those. We also process all the vendor paychecks, checks for disbursement. So we do the electric bill to different bond payments that we have, anything and everything. We pay the jurors, we pay the election workers. We also have to file all the reports that go with that. So we file federal reports and local reports and state reports. So anything like just a couple weeks ago, I did all the W-2s and the 1095s, and we do 941s for the federal government. We also do GASB reporting. We also do state reports for court fees and fines. So every single case that goes through any court, whether it be JPs or county clerk or district clerk or any of those, comes down to our office. We have to file those with the state as well. So we do a lot of book work, and it's pretty complex. It's not just a matter of a quick running of a report. Again, with open records requests and different things, we sometimes spend days working on different reports that we have to file. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot.
Quite a bit.
It's fun, we enjoy doing it. But
none of that sounded fun to me. None of it. But I know you, and I know that's your passion.
Yes.
Looking over, and the reason I say I know this because you also sit on the SHI board. We sit on the board together. It's a nonprofit having to do with mental health and IDD and youth respite. And so you also offer your talents there with our bookkeeping along with our treasurer. So it sounds very complex, but how many years did you say you've been doing this?
I've been doing this for 32 years.
32 years. So you have the knowledge and the experience to take care of this. And with the workload, how many staff members do you have? That's quite a bit of work that you put out there.
Yes, and it is quite a bit of work. I have 12 staff members, you know, and they work very, very hard. It's not enough. You know, we work late hours. I myself, I work at least 60 hours every single week. Sometimes in January, I don't even sleep some nights because I'm so worried and try to get everything done. It's an actual working job where you have to show up and do the physical work and know how to do those reports. I'm the one doing some of that work myself. Of course, I have 12 people, yes. But with the volume that we have, it's just not enough.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Let's go on to question number 2. Sure. So you may have already answered some of this, but we can talk a little bit more about the responsibilities of being an elected official. The treasurer's position is not some position that's hired by the commissioners. It's an elected position, so voters put you in this place and keep you, or you leave. So you tell us a little bit about what comes with that.
Sure. So as the law says, I am the one responsible. I personally am the custodian of the funds. So I do not work for anybody but the public. So that's who I answer to. The Commissioners Court establishes our policies. They establish our budget. They create the guidelines that I have to follow, and they approve what I need to do. But it's my responsibility to do it. So they are not there every single day making sure my reports are correct. It is my responsibility to the public to make sure those reports are done timely and correctly. So I submit those reports myself, as well as all of our other daily tasks that we do. We do those without oversight from the Commissioner's Court because I'm an elected official. It is me that oversees those things. So sometimes that's a misconception.
Yes.
Being an elected official, you have a 24-hour-a-day job. You're on the weekends. You're always responsible for these things. So yes, it keeps me up at night, but I enjoy that. It keeps me going. Mm-hmm. I'm excited when we do well. I make sure that what we do is correct. We have great internal controls. We do things where we get audited constantly by federal agencies, by state agencies, by local government agencies. So I'm happy when we do well on those things. And while we try very hard not to make mistakes, if we do make a mistake, we try extremely hard to catch it within our own office within a matter of time, very short time. So, it is a huge responsibility. And I answered to the public, to you.
Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask about checks and balances, but you covered that. You're constantly getting audited.
Yes, we have the type of positions where our internal controls are a little unusual in that I cannot cross-train some of my employees. The people that receipt the money and issue the paychecks or issue any kind of checks cannot be the people that do the reconciliation when the bank statements come in. It has to be a separation of duties, which was a challenge during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Because while we had a lot of people out, I could not have other people fill in for people that were doing certain jobs because that would be a violation of our protocol and would set us up to potential fraud. So we don't want that. We are very careful to keep the separation of duties. We have great internal controls. I monitor that on a daily basis. I make sure that nobody does anything they're not supposed to do to violate those protocols, because that's my job. My job is the gatekeeper. I'm supposed to protect the money, and I do everything in my power to make sure that that happens.
Yeah. So question number 3 is, what are the biggest challenges your office faces at this time and historically? So you've answered 1, at this time with pandemic, loss of staff at times. And what else can you tell us historically in this office, since you have 32 years experience? What have you seen?
Well, a lot of times one of my biggest challenges is to help people to recognize what we do. People don't understand, and they think that computers do it all, and that is simply not the case. We review 1,100 timesheets within 3 days to do the payroll, and it's on the payday through the payday, so it's real time. It's a lot of volume, and yes, some of it is computerized, not all of it. We also have manual timesheets for a lot of our employees still, but the ones that are computerized, they make mistakes. You know, they forget to punch out, or they forget to punch in, or the supervisor would go in.
When I worked for the county, I would make errors, yes.
So we have to review all of them and correct their mistakes and have the backup for it. So it's not just a matter of us being able to just go in and fix something. We have to get the backup from the supervisor and the employee and the permission. We have to get the documentation, and it happens like that because it's on the payday, through the payday. And that's a lot of stress to be under. So having somebody not recognize what we do is very common. It's also been understaffing. The county has continued to grow greatly. It's just immense growth. And so with that, you know, we've grown from 300 employees to 1,100 employees in a very short amount of time, and that is just too much volume for the staff that we had. And while we've grown conservatively, it's simply just not, the county just can't keep up. The pandemic has had its challenges. You know, we had a time period where many of the employees were out. My staff was there the entire time. We are an essential function similar to law enforcement. We had to be there. People have to get paid. So we were there. We couldn't take our work home with us because of the nature of what we do. We can't count money at home. We can't do checks at home. There are things that would violate any kind of protocols. So we are in the office, and then people were not there to provide the reports to us. So when they weren't there to provide the things to us, it made it difficult for us to do the state reports and the things we had to do on such short notice. So it became a flood effect. When people came back in the office, they would flood us with the information, and we were already short-staffed because some of my staff was out. That was a huge challenge. But it's nothing everybody else isn't facing. You know, staffing has been a huge issue over the past 2 years for most places. It's not unusual to us, but it has definitely changed our work environment and been a huge challenge. You know, I think that the largest, biggest challenge for any governmental entity is, you know, we don't want to overtax our constituents. So it's important that our tax rates maintain low and livable taxes, if we can call it that, but to try to keep up with what is required of us with limited staff becomes almost impossible at times. You know, we just, especially during times when we're flooded with unusual things, it's just, especially open records requests that take us so much of our time, and we want to be accurate and responsive quickly, and we don't have the facilities or the staff to keep up with it because we don't want to overtax people. So that's tough.
It's a delicate balance, it sounds like.
It is.
And being in real estate, and you know, our audience looking to move to this area or just relocate, they know that Hays County has been growing and it's continuing to grow. So I'm sorry, it's not going to get any easier for you.
It comes along with the job, so that's okay. I'm happy that our community is so attractive to people because I love it. I've been here all my life, and it's, you know, it is absolutely wonderful to live here. So I know why people are coming here. It's, you know, but it's just not going to stop. I agree.
Yes, yes. All right, question number 4. You've touched a little bit on this, but if you could tell us a little bit more about some misconceptions about your office.
Sure. So most of the time, Jennifer O'Kane, who is our tax assessor collector, and myself get confused. So people don't understand the difference between a tax assessor collector and a treasurer. But the tax assessor collector is a completely different elected official that does a completely different job. That's the most common misconception. So as I explained what my job is, she has a very different job. Then as well, another common misconception, again, like I said, is how long things take. So people don't seem to understand that we have to maintain records for 75 years past an ending employment date, and that has to do with retirement. We have bond issuances that last for 30 years, and we have to maintain those records for another 30 years. That's way beyond the time period that I'm going to be there. So my documentation that I have to have has to withstand that time period. And the Texas State Library provides for us different types of requirements and the types of records. We have to maintain those originals. But our computer systems from that time period, we didn't even have some of a computer back then, or if they are, they're outdated. So sometimes when we're asked for these large large types of requests, it takes a long time because we're doing manual research.
Yes.
In addition, we have information that comes from different county elected officials. So sometimes when we're doing reports, we're relying upon their computer system, our computer system, and we all have these fantastic, great technologies, but they're only as good as the inputter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how computers are. So computers are only as good as somebody who puts it in, and we have to verify all the information before we release it. It's just a lot more work than most people think, and it requires a whole lot more skill to know how the county flows experience and what it is we need for our dollars and how we need to spend our money wisely so that we can produce the best product for our individuals. And the Commissioner's Court's great about setting up budgets and those types of things, but my job has to be to keep up with all that and make sure that that's what we're doing is what the court wants us to do. So.
Yeah. Well, I see the passion that you have for your job. It's very evident that you love what you do, and I'm happy that you are in this position and taking care of Hays County as an elected official. So I do appreciate your time. You have a beautiful family, a husband, beautiful daughter, and like you said, you're native to this area. Before we wrap up, anything else you want to share with our audience? Maybe you attended an event that I had for newcomers to Hays County.
Yes.
So anything that you would like to share with people looking to move to the area or that live here that maybe just could know a little bit more about your office?
Absolutely. So I was born and raised here. I have the same values. I feel that our community has. It's instilled in me. I know what people think and how they want to live. So the biggest thing I can say is register to vote. Get to know your elected officials. Put people in office that you know and that have the same values as you, and create the community that you want to live in that way. So many times people don't even understand the difference between a county elected official and a city elected official. They don't understand the different structures that we have. And it's important that you at least understand who you're putting in those positions. My particular position isn't necessarily policy making, but I have to follow the policies that are made. And I also have a day-to-day responsibility to you, to the public, to new people coming in. So I think to new people coming in, get to know your local elected officials, understand that they are a working job, they're in their offices. Make an appointment, come see them, see what they do. I think it's important to get to know who it is that's doing your job, that is serving you. That is what we are as servants. I serve what you want me to do. I do what it is you want me to do within the law and the policies and the procedures that are given to me. So.
All right. Well, I trust you.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. If you have follow-up questions for Britney, we will put a link to the tax off. Or here I am, Jennifer O'Kane, not Jennifer O'Kane, to the treasurer's office.
Everybody. So Jennifer and I know each other well. We can always switch the emails if we need to.
There
so
we
no
go.
problem.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and that's it for this episode of 4 Qs for You. We'll see you next time.